Eleanor Crane had always trusted her ears. As a sound engineer, she lived with the hum of a perfectly tuned microphone, the crisp snap of a breaking twig underfoot, the subtle resonance of a room coming alive. So when the call came, static-laced, urgent, from an abandoned church on the edge of town, she couldn't resist. The voice on the line had begged her to record something, anything, before it was too late. Then the line went dead. The church loomed against the bruised sky, its spire a crooked finger clawing at the dusk. The windows were shattered, stained glass scattered like broken teeth across the frostbitten ground. Inside, the air was heavy, thick with dust and the faint tang of something metallic. Eleanor adjusted her headset, her recorder humming to life as she stepped over the threshold. The silence was wrong, too absolute. No creak of wood, no drip of water, no wind threading to the cracked walls. Just a void pressing against her eardrums like a held breath. Then it started, a low note, barely audible, rising from the floorboards. It wasn't music. It was a vibration, a pulse that crawled up her spine and lodged in her skull. She aimed her microphone downward, watching the level spike on her recorder. The sound grew, splitting into layers, high-pitched whines, guttural drones, a chorus of tones that didn't belong together. Her headset crackled, feeding the noise directly into her mind. She should have left then, but curiosity held her fast. The nave stretched before her, pews overturned, hymnals shredded into confetti. At the altar, a single candle burned, its flame unnaturally still. Beside it sat an old reel-to-reel player, its tape spinning slowly, though no sound came from its speakers. Eleanor approached, her boots crunching on something brittle. Bones, she realized, small and splintered, scattered like offerings. The choir erupted. Voices, dozens, hundreds, burst from nowhere and everywhere. They sang no words, just a cacophony of wails and shrieks that clawed at her sanity. Her recorder overloaded, red lights flashing, but she couldn't stop listening. The voices weren't human. They were echoes, distortions, something ancient and furious trapped in the air itself. Help us, they seemed to plead. Free us, they demanded. She stumbled back, her headset slipping, but the sound didn't fade. It grew louder, sharper, slicing through her thoughts. Her vision blurred. The walls pulsed, rippling like flesh, and the candle flared, casting shadows that didn't match the room. Figures stood among the pews now, tall, thin, their heads cocked at impossible angles. Their mouths moved, but the sound came from the walls, the floor, her own skull. One stepped closer. Its face was a hollow mask, eyes black pits, lips stretched into a silent scream. It raised a skeletal hand, pointing to the reel-to-reel. Listen! It rasped, though its mouth didn't move. Trembling, Eleanor pressed play. The tape hissed, then unleashed a voice. Her voice, screaming, begging, a recording she'd never made. The choir joined in, mimicking her, mocking her, until the sound was a physical thing, wrapping around her throat, squeezing. She clawed at the player, smashing to the ground, but the voices didn't stop. The figures closed in, their hollow faces multiplying, filling the church. The walls bled shadow, the candle guttered out, and the last thing she heard was her own scream, echoing back from a void. When the police arrived days later, the church was silent. Eleanor's recorder sat on the altar, its battery dead. They played it back, nothing but static. But one officer swore he heard something beneath the noise, a faint, endless wail, and in the shadows, something hummed.